And with our, with our room, we've had the majority of our patients not have to have that extra medication.
And that's got to be really good for people, especially people who are claustrophobic or people who have maybe issues with being in. I've had an MRI done. Sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming being in that small space with the loud noise from the machines and everything. So it's got to be a little bit more comforting and a little bit more relaxing to be able to have the things that make them feel more at home.
Yes, that's exactly correct.
All right, and so so a big way to make things better for kids. Sometimes kids have to have MRIs. That's got to also help as well. Yeah.
Yes, it will. It'll help kids. If the child is a little apprehensive, we'd like for them to bring their child in and look at our room to see if it's something that they think that they could lay down and be still on before they have to go to a large suite and be sedated, into a larger hospital. Someday in the future, we plan on doing the conscious sedation here. We're just not set up and ready yet. We'll have to work that out with our anesthesia department. And so, but for right now, we're very hopeful, and we are very optimistic because we have seen this, that it takes the stress and the fear of claustrophobia completely out. What makes the big difference is when you look into our room, the patient will walk in, and in a normal MRI suite, even with a wide bore, a person's going to walk in and think, "Oh, that's a tunnel. Look at that we have to crawl into." If you're claustrophobic. And with ours, we have a monitor at the foot of the MR suite, or at the foot of the MR table, and it plays the same thing that's on the ceiling. So when you're actually standing there and you look, you can see an end, you can almost see like a light at the end of the tunnel, basically. So it makes it appear that our MR machine is more open than others, and that's all because of the aesthetics of the room.
Well, I tell you what, that again, we talk about putting people's minds at ease, and that's definitely a way that you can do that, because it's just one of those things where you go in and you feel more at home, as opposed to having to get into a cold machine that looks like it's a big giant dark tunnel.
Right. We've put a lot of thought process into this. It took us couple 3-4 years to build this room. When we built our addition onto the back of the hospital, to accommodate our new surgery suite, which we now have our surgery suite. We're performing total knees, total hips, and total shoulders. And that was our big thought process with purchasing this 3T, was to, basically satisfy and to work with our ortho doctors, the doctors that do those surgeries. They prefer them because it gives much better detail than a 1.5. So with that in mind, we thought, well, okay, we're putting in an expensive 3T. What can we do in our hospital to set us apart? And so as we built the back half of our hospital to accommodate the surgery department, we also built an area that was designated for our new MR machine. So we didn't plan on getting our MR machine as soon as we did, but our foundation helped us fund this new MR, and the whole total project was $2.7 million. And our foundation helped fund this from the very generous community that we have that has supported our hospital wholeheartedly. And so we're very, very thankful for our foundation and the support of our community to help us get this very expensive and beautiful MR room. So we put a lot of thought process in, and then that's when, I looked at one of my vendors, and they said, well, let's take a look at this caring suite. Let's take a look at this. And so our architect and we all sat down at the table, and we said, yes, this is what we need to do to set us apart. And so the plans went into motion, and then with the very generous donation for the foundation, we were like 2 to 3 years ahead of schedule of what we were planning on doing. So we were very thankful that we were able to open up this past March.
So the foundation goes a long ways towards you guys being able to complete those projects. How important is that to be able to have that support, not only from the foundation, but from the community itself?
Well, it's extremely important. I know for a fact, they help support the building of this back end and of the of our surgical suite, and the 3 stories that they put on the back part of our hospital, they were there for support of my new or my new CT machine back in 2019. There's just a whole long laundry list of things that they help us with. And so, we wouldn't be able to, be where we're at today without our community generously donating to our foundation.
All right, we are being joined by Cindy Miles, Director of Diagnostic Imaging at Pana Community Hospital. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more with Cindy, talk to her a little bit more about some of the great stuff going on at Pana Community Hospital. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
Your information station, WTIM. WTIM.
And welcome back to WTIM, your information station. Leroy Clamola here with you, bringing you today's interviews. And again, I want to thank Cindy Miles, Director of Diagnostic Imaging at PCH, for taking a few minutes to talk to us about their new MRI caring suite. And Cindy, why would people need an MRI in the first place? What is that for?
Well, an MRI checks checks your spinal column. It checks your muscular and your tendons. Like if you've got something wrong with your knee. It can also pick up some fractures. But if you have a plain X-ray, say you've hurt your knee, and you have a plain X-ray and they don't really see anything on it, and they don't see a fracture or anything, so you still have swelling, then your doctor most likely is going to refer you to have an MRI. Now, what sets us apart at Pana also is the quickness that you can get in. We are very proficient at getting our people in as fast as we can. A lot of times they think the holdup might be us, but most of the time it's the patient's insurance. because once the doctor writes the order and says, okay, we're going to get an MRI, then it goes to their office. And the order goes to their office, and they have to check out the person's insurance. And if it doesn't require any pre-authorization or pre-certifications, then they send us a message right away, and we can get the patient in within the next day or two. Now, if the patient's got, say for instance, you've had a heart catheterization and you've got stents in your heart, then we need to have that card that they give you, and we need to check out to make sure that the stents are compatible with our machine, with any MR machine. Pacemakers definitely are not compatible with our MR machine. There are now, after all these years, some facilities, the bigger ones that have the heart doctors right there on standby and the cardiac cath labs and all that, they do perform MRIs on some pacemakers, the newer ones. But here we don't have that cardiology group right on standby, so we don't do MRs of pacemakers and defibrillators. But we do have to check out, any other sort of implant, like if you get an implant for pain. We have to check that out, and we've got a system that we use, and it doesn't take us very long, but it's a lot easier if the patient will present their card for these units that are implanted in them. And that way we can thoroughly check them out to make sure that they're compatible.
That's why it's so important to be able to be honest on those things that you fill out, the check sheets that you fill out before you go in for the MRI.
Absolutely, because this is a very, very strong magnet. And you know how a magnet has a pulling force. Well, an MRI has 60,000 times the normal gravity of a pulling. And so that's very, very strong. It can, there's been reported cases, God help us that it never would happen here, but there's been reported cases in other facilities, larger facilities, where they've taken an oxygen tank in that's not MRI compatible, and it flew across the room and hit a child and killed him. You've got to be very careful about what goes in and out of that MR room, especially people that has a pacemaker on the inside. It could move that around and it could become dislodged, and so we're very overcautious on checking our patients from head to toe. If you've had a knee replacement, or if you've had, like a shoulder replacement, those are perfectly fine to go into an MRI, but you have to be healed up after about 6 weeks. We don't let anybody with a fresh surgery come into our MRI. You have to be at least 6 weeks post-surgery before you can get one.
All right, we got about 30 seconds left. If people want to schedule, if people want to see the facility and more information about the caring suite, what can they do?
They can call 562, that's 217-562-6366, and set up an appointment if you're hesitant, or you basically you just want to see it before you schedule. You can do that, but otherwise just call that number and schedule. Most of the time the doctor's offices around in the area do that appointment scheduling for you.
All right, sounds good. Cindy Miles, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to us today. I greatly appreciate it, and look forward to seeing more from you guys on some of the great stuff going on at Pana Community Hospital. Okay,
thank you for having me on this morning.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more of the morning show right here on WTIM, your information station.
WTIM.